Okay, welcome. And we begin our class on Parshat Ki Teitzei.
Ki Teitzei?
Ki Teitzei. Ki Teitzei means when you will go out.
Right.
Well, first of all, the Parsha, let me just give you an introduction. The Parsha talks about a lot of laws, a lot of commandments, and many different subjects. Some of them are just like very brief. Sometimes it's like one verse, because most of it is explained in different different portions. But they're like concise. No interpretations here, but many times when the Rambam lists the mitzvot, he uses this as a source, that where the mitzvah comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So this portion is not, it doesn't constitute a practical halachic ruling, but we connect it to deeper meanings of subjects that were discussed in the past. So when you go out,
From where?
to war, when you go out to war, Ki Teitzei, when you go out to
Uh-huh.
war. But just let me mention them. There are like 74 mitzvot. Out of the total of 613 mitzvot, we have 74 in this portion. So that's not a little bit, that's quite a number. So when you go out to war on your enemies, Hashem will deliver them in your hands. It says you're over your enemies. Al oivecha. You have the upper hand on your enemies. First of all, you can understand that in the literal sense, on top of your enemies. In every battle, in order to achieve victory, you have to gain the higher ground. You got to have be on top of them. But the deeper meaning, everything has a deeper meaning. Never stoop to the level of evil to fight on its own terms. In other words, if you wrestle with a filthy person, you get dirty yourself. Don't lower yourself to that level.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, rise above it.
Right.
And remember that there's no true existence other than Hashem. And nothing contrary to God's goodness and truth has any real power. So if you're going on to war on your enemies with that intention, knowing that Hashem is with you and he's fighting your battles, then you guarantee that Hashem will deliver them into your hands. So that is the deeper explanation of. There's another way to explain it, is that when you go to war on your evil inclination,
That's what I was thinking.
every day
Which
you have to fight,
Yeah.
and you have to be on top of it.
I noticed that when it came to having to deal with another person, and you see that you will not change their mind, and you know that they don't know better than what they do, and I'm not not here to be their parent or anything like that. So
To educate them. Yeah.
I back off.
Mhm. Okay, now it says like this. So when you go out to war and you might see a very beautiful woman, and taking into account the power of the human desire, the Torah says you can take
Mm-hmm.
this woman from the enemy nation. And of course, it's not preferred, but it says if you see among the captives a beautiful woman and you desire her and take her as your wife. So the Torah tells you it's to counter the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. Because if Hashem would say you're not permitted, then the soldier might take her against
Mm-hmm.
the halacha. So we know that even though the Torah views this as a negative thing, and if he marries her, ultimately he's going to hate her, he's going to despise her, because it says if a man has two wives, one he loves and one he hates. That's the next few psukim. So one he loves and one he despises. So we understand that eventually he's going to despise her. There's a whole process that he has to do, and we'll soon see. So first of all, and as a result, we see, so it talks about what he has to do. has to shave her head and have her nails
Right.
grow, and she sits in a place where he sees her every time he goes by, and she's crying her head off because she's missing her family, and he's not going to want her. Then he can let her go. He can't sell her, and he can't, he has to let her go. So, but if he does marry her, so what happens is that he's going to despise her, and also they're going to have a son who's going to be rebellious. So therefore, that's the connection between the next few laws. So the Torah wants to discourage him
Mm.
from pursuing this relationship. So he tells the woman he tells her that the woman has to wear unattractive clothes, shave her head, let her fingernails grow. She remains in his house for a month, and he has time to reconsider whether he wants her or not. Now, if he regrets his decision, he sends her away, like I said, and he's not allowed to sell her into slavery once he takes her into his house. And we're told that sometimes a holy soul is imprisoned in the depths of the klipot. The klipot are the shell that conceals godliness.
Right.
That's this world. This world is full of klipot. Like when you have a fruit and you take away the peel, you have the so godliness is in everything, but it's concealed. It's like a husk in a shell. So the Torah tells you that a Jewish soldier, if a Jewish soldier is attracted to a captive woman, because his soul recognizes the beauty that's imprisoned within her. So the Torah refers to her as a beautiful woman, even though she could be ugly. Okay, it's the same law refers to a woman who could be ugly. But the Torah tells you that the procedure to cleanse the impurity of the klipot and bring her into your house, and that's all of Knesset Yisrael. We are the beautiful women. Am Yisrael is Knesset Yisrael. So when you go out to war upon your enemies and capture from them captives, that's the way the Torah expresses it. What does it mean, capture from them captives? So you're capturing a captive. So we say that anything negative in man or in the world can be used for the good. If you could derive a lesson from it in the service of Hashem, that's what the Baal Shem Tov says.
Mm-hmm.
And we're told there are 7 things you can learn from a thief. The first thing you learn from a thief is that what he does, he keeps to himself. Secondly, he's willing to take risks in order to attain his goal. He doesn't distinguish between major and minor things, but he takes the same care of each and every detail. He invests a lot of effort in what he does. He's quick, he's swift, he's always optimistic. And if at first he fails, comes back time and time again, tries again. So this is what Reb Zusha of Anipoli said. He learned 7 things from a thief. So even from a thief, you can
And from an animal and from anything that
yeah. Okay, now the firstborn, we're told, receives a double portion. This is like we're going through some of the laws. So even if he is the son of the wife who he dislikes, he has to give her the double portion if he's the Bechor. So you see, there's no...
the first wife.
No, the one who has the oldest son. Bechor means the firstborn.
Yeah.
So the firstborn inherits a double portion. And he might be the son of the wife who dislikes, but it doesn't matter. He gets it. Then we go to the rebellious son. So this is the result of
the capture.
The capture. But it actually never happened because you need so many details in order to punish somebody. He talks about a ben sorero more, which means he doesn't listen to his father or his mother, and he does everything wrong. I mean, he's definitely he's rebellious. So what happens is that he goes off the way. Yeah. So both of the parents have to bring him to the court and bring him to Bet Din. And if it's true that he is gluttonous and a drunk, he drinks
Mhm.
and he and he eats a lot of meat and he drinks a lot of wine and he's and he's a glutton, then he's put to death by stoning.
Oh my.
Now the thing is, he has to also. It only applies if he steals money from his father and mother. He consumes at one meal like an enormous amount of meat and a half of a lug of wine, and it's
Must be a fat man.
so so the Torah tells you that he's executed on the account of the future. In other words, the Torah says that we see his intentions, we see where he's going. Eventually, he's going to squander his father's money, and and then when he doesn't have the money, he's going to rob people. He might even kill them. So the Torah
Why would
says.
you marry somebody?
So the Torah says, let him die innocent rather than have him die guilty. So they kill him, before he reaches. And it says that his father and his mother grab hold of him, which means that both of his parents have to bring him to court, because if his father wants him declared like a rebellious son, and his mother doesn't, or his mother wants to and his father doesn't, then this law doesn't apply. And it says Rabbi Shimon asks a question, and he says, could it be because he ate so much meat and drank so much wine, his father and mother want him to be stoned? And he says that the case of a wayward and rebellious son never was and never will be. So why is it written in the Torah? So the reason is, first of all, that it should be studied, and you get reward for studying it, and you know what not to do.
And also to prevent it from happening.
From happening, yeah.
If the thing is, the ignorance says, I did not know the fact, but now that you do know, you cannot blame anybody except yourself, because
you understand that there are so many details of, like, you could have a rebellious son, but you can't put him to death until you have witnesses, until you people saw him and he ate and he drank and he stole and he did,
Yeah.
So it's practically impossible for all of the details to come into one person. Okay, now we're talking about if a person gets hanged. Okay, the person that gets punished and he gets hanged. So it says that not to leave him overnight. You're not allowed to let him hang overnight, because after a person is stoned, they hang him up, but you're not allowed to leave him overnight. Afterwards they bury him. So the reason that you don't leave a person hanging overnight is because you're degrading the king, because a man was created in the image of God.
Right.
And we are God's children. So
that's why we bury before the night.
You bury before the night because of the kvod hamet.
Yeah.
We respect men, but here we're talking about a person hanging. You don't leave him hanging
But
because
it doesn't relate to the
could
same
be
thing?
yeah, because you have to respect because they give you an example like twin brothers. Let's say they are identical, okay, and one became the king and the other one was arrested for robbery and he was hung.
Mhm.
So everyone who's seeing the identical twin will say, hey, the king's hanging, because he looks just like him. So the Torah says, that's sort of degrading. So take him down. You do it so that people will see, but then bury him that night. Don't leave him overnight. Then we learn about returning lost property. It says if you encounter an animal or an object that was abandoned and the owner lost it. So first of all, you have to make an effort to return it to its owner.
Right.
And the Torah emphasizes that you may not ignore a lost object. In other words, if the owner, you can't find him, then you have to safeguard this property. And
Take it to the police.
there was like a Shabbat Avidah in Jerusalem, that anyone who lost something would go there.
Lost and found?
Lost and found. And anyone who found something would go there and bring it. So, and then somebody would stand there and he would announce, anybody can identify, and if you give signs, like we found a wallet. So give signs, what was it like? And then we know that it's yours, and then you could take it. There's a story told about Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa, that a man came to his house, and when and he left some chickens behind. And Rabbi Hanina's wife found the chickens, and Rabbi Hanina said to her, "Don't eat their eggs, because it doesn't belong to us." And so the eggs and the chickens multiplied, and they became a bother. You can just imagine, like, a lot of chickens. So he sold them, and he bought goats with the money. And one day, the man who lost the chickens passed by, and he said to his friend, "This is where I lost my chickens." So Rabbi Hanina heard him, and he said, "Do you have any identifying, marks?" And he said, "Yes." And he told him the sign, and so he gave him all the goats. See that he got it with the interest. It was all his. Then the Torah tells you, if a person sees a fellow's donkey, or an ox, he's collapsing under its burden, you have to help him lift the burden, or unload it and reload it if necessary. Do not ignore the situation as if you didn't notice it, but it says azov ta'azov imo. In other words, if he's sitting around, then you don't have to help him. It's to help with him.
Of course.
Like a person might say, "Oh, you have there's a law in the Torah. You gotta help. You gotta help," and he'll sit and watch. Okay. Then there's a woman is not allowed to wear men's clothing, and a man is not allowed to wear women's clothing.
What about today's pants, women's pants?
A woman is not allowed to wear pants.
No.
There has to be a clear distinction.
But there is a distinction of how they do the zipper. I mean, like, if you
But pants are.
Or
You
no
can't
zipper.
say. Listen, being modest is not wearing pants.
hello.
Eventually, we live and learn, right? When you take upon yourself, like there are laws of modesty, of what you can show and what you can't
Don't
show.
look at me.
I'm not looking. You and Hashem, that's between you two of you. So first of all, there has to be a clear distinction. Like, a person can dress like a man, and then, and mix. Do not mix the
But
roles,
we don't.
and it might
I'm
lead
not
to
going
immoral
argue
behavior.
with you. I
It's not me who
I know.
There's always like you say, you make a boundary. There's a boundary. First of all, there are other reasons, right? Not, being too undressed is also not being very modest, but okay. Then there's the law of the sending away the mother bird, right? You're not allowed to take the chickens or the eggs from the nest
Yeah,
while the
you
mother
have to.
bird is on it. You have to send away the mother bird, and then you can take the chickens or the eggs. And whoever observes this commandment, it says arichut yamim.
Yeah.
You're promised a long life. When you build a house, you have to make a railing around the roof. You have to make a gate or whatever, makeh, so that take precautions. Nobody should fall off your roof. You don't want to cause any injury.
You have a pocket?
No one goes up to my roof, but if I have on my porch, in other words, any porch or any, it says don't bring blood into your house, because when the fall, it says shelo yipol hanofel. What does it mean when the falling person falls? Because the Torah calls him a falling person because it was from heaven decreed that he would fall. But I don't want it, not from my roof, not from my house. I don't want to bring the one to bring about his death. We say that מגלגלים זכות על ידי זכאי וחובה על ידי חייב, that good things are executed through good people and ill fortune is through guilty people. So I don't want to be the guilty one, because if it happens through me, it's a bad
So I have a
sign.
question. Through the years, on the roof, you don't have some anything that has to be redo because the sun shines, and the zephet or the rafim
I
or
don't have,
something.
I have Rafim.
Rafim, and that's a lifetime kind of a thing. So
But in
you
any
solve
case,
the problem.
Yeah, but in any case,
Nobody
the
will walk on a
idea,
rafim anyway.
yeah, but the idea is building a house also means when you get married and you're building a house. So it's a new house. I mean, because even if you buy an old house, you have to see to it that it's safe. But the deeper insight of building a house is that when you build your house and you suddenly have to go out and work for your parnasah and make money, and you are dealing with other things that you didn't deal before, you have to have boundaries. Make a boundary. In other words, there's certain things where you say this is the line, and I don't
Not
go
to
over the
pass the
line.
red
So I
line.
so I don't fall, because a person can easily fall into the wrong, from the level where he is. So here, like a boy sits in yeshiva and learns all his years, and then it comes to an age where he gets married and he's building a new house. Bonim bayit, when you get married, and suddenly you have to deal with different things that you never dealt with before.
I know.
So you can lose it. So you say, 1 minute, there's certain things that I will do and certain things I won't do. Like, in order to make a living, there's a limit on what I can do and what I can't do. Anyway, so then we go further and we say that that you're not allowed to have different species. Like, you're not allowed to plant grain together with grape seeds. It's called kalayim. And you're not allowed to plow with two different species, like an ox and a donkey.
Right, because
So-
there is no unfair strength,
Strength, and not only that, but the ox
height.
chooses cuds, and the
Uh-huh.
donkey says, "Oh, they gave him to eat, me they didn't." He doesn't realize he's just chewing his cud, and so the
Uh-huh.
donkey gets, upset, jealous. Yeah. So you have see this compassion. The Torah teaches us compassion to even to animals.
Mhm.
Okay, now it's you're not allowed to wear a garment that has woven wool and linen, and that's called shatnez.
What
And
about fruits that trees that are blended in?
so you're not allowed to do it. You're allowed to eat them, but you're not allowed to do them. Like the farshizif, like you have a peach and a plum that was put together. Officially, you're not allowed to do it.
A tangerine also.
Tangerine? What's the
It's
tangerine?
like
Comes from what?
it's not. It's
So the tangerine is on its
I
own.
don't know. I mean, like orange with the. I mean, I thought.
Yeah, I don't know.
They
There
do it a lot.
there are different species which you're not allowed to do, but you are allowed to eat them.
Who is to do it?
The people who do it, people who have land and are
They-
planting these
and
trees,
they're not allowed to do it, but they do it anyway,
I guess, obviously.
and it's still kosher.
Yeah.
Okay. So they get punished, then we get the rewards.
I guess. Anyway, the Torah commands against, we said shatnez, but when it's for a mitzvah, like tzitzit,
Mm-hmm.
so you have a four-cornered garment and you have to put the tzitzis on them. And the Torah repeats the mitzvah of tzitzis because it teaches us that for the purpose of fulfilling a mitzvah, you can have, like the tzitzit are wool, made out of wool, and the strings are linen. So for the purpose of mitzvah, like even the garments of the Kohanim had shatnez. That was like for the Kohanim.
Mm.
And so we have to be very careful. Like sometimes you buy a winter coat or a jacket or a woolen, something wool, and in the collar they'll put in a piece of linen to keep it straight, or in like some,
You're
many,
not allowed?
you're not allowed. So they have these machon where they check it. When you buy suits or you buy coats, some of them have a label on it that it says it was checked already for shatnez, and if not, you have to give it in to check the shatnez.
And where are they? In Eilat, if I buy?
No, if you in Bnei Brak, in Yerushalayim.
Oh, so you have to, when I buy here, I have to
So
go?
it's sometimes like the suits of well, it depends what you're talking about. Like a winter coat, not every piece of clothing it has to be checked. You can see if it's linen or wool, but sometimes it's hidden inside a collar or something like a stiff, something that's made of wool and it has linen in it.
Uh-huh.
But it's okay. Then the Torah gives like a whole list of forbidden relationships, and what happens if a girl was raped, and what he has to do, and he has to pay money, and then if she's willing, he has to marry her, and he can never divorce her. And who gets the death penalty, and what if a man has relations with a married woman, so it's a death penalty for them both. And a man cannot marry a woman who is married to his father, even if she was not his mother. And he cannot marry a woman who was married to his uncle, his father's brother. And if a person is infertile, many times he's not permitted to marry if he knows he can't have children. A mamzer, what's a mamzer? He's born from forbidden relationships, and he cannot marry a Jewish woman, maybe just a convert. Anyone from Ammon or Moab is forbidden to enter the Jewish community through marriage, even after conversion, because of what they did.
Moab, 1 minute.
Ammon and Moab.
It's a man, right?
Moavi, right? Because Ruth was a Moabiyah, again, it's
Yeah.
the man. And the reason is because they were so cruel.
Yeah.
They didn't let us. They first of all, while they were in the desert,
Yeah.
and they didn't even let them buy water or food.
Mhm.
And it says about the Edom and Egypt, even though they caused a lot of harm, we shouldn't hate them because
We were
apparently
living there.
because they did some good for us, right? Edom is Yaakov's brother, so
Right.
and in Egypt they let us in. So therefore, there's consideration of the brother of Yaakov, and Egypt let us in during the years of exile. Okay. We're told that when a person goes out to war, he has to take special care. This is interesting because it says when you are in a sakana, when you're in a danger, then the satan could cause harm. And when a person is he shouldn't go out alone at night. He shouldn't go to places where he's putting himself in danger, because then the Satan comes along. When you are alone, the Satan can say, "Hey, you're not perfect, and you have this and this and this flaw." And then, like when we're together, so each, like it says, you take 10 pencils. You can't break them so easy as you can one pencil.
Right.
So when we daven together, tzibur, the word tzibur is tzadikim, benonim, vereshaim. We have everybody together in tzibur.
Uh-huh.
And when one is missing, the other one,
It's complete.
it's complete, everybody. So in other words, your prayers are more likely to go up straight to heaven when you daven b'tzibur. When you're davening alone, so it's you and Hashem, and like you're exposed, so to speak, all the good things and maybe the bad things, because we're not so perfect.
So how come it's only for men and not for women?
The tzibur, because a woman officially can pray anytime she wants to,
Right. I know
and she's
that.
connected to Hashem. She doesn't need the tzibur.
Mm.
And for him, it's more of a mitzvah.
Men have more bedding. A woman who doesn't need to pray, I mean, like she doesn't.
She's
is
always
living-
talking to Hashem.
Yeah, but my point is like she has so many children and taking care of, so she may not have the time to pray. But if she does go to pray, she does above and beyond our needs, because she goes.
Yeah, well, she could pray in her own time,
then-
and she could do once again says she should daven like Shachris and Mincha, even if she doesn't daven the whole davening. There's certain pieces that she should say.
Mm.
So it's Birkat HaShachar and the Korban Tamid and the Shema Yisrael she should say every day, and the Shemona Yisrael, and it's okay. So there's certain times when she's busy with little kids, so she'll do the short form. But and Mincha is very short, so she can say the Mincha anytime.
I do it in Shabbat.
Okay, that's a good start.
Yeah.
And like the Rebbe says,
I go all the
every time
in
people
the
come-
morning, and I repeat. I go not what is the after the Shacharit
Musaf.
Musaf. I go. I'm able to make Musaf Mincha and Maghrib.
Very nice. So the thing is that whenever somebody came to the Rebbe and said, I did this and that, and the Rebbe said, keep going, do more. Don't stop there. Okay.
And I read also the Torah when I at home.
Anyway, a Gentile slave that escapes from his master and he seeks refuge among the Jewish people should not be returned. He should provide him with a safe place to live and his basic needs and welfare. Both men and women are forbidden to be prostitutes. And if somebody was paid with prostitute money, you cannot use it to buy a sacrifice. And or a dog that somebody took a dog, sold a dog, and with the money from the dog bought a sacrifice. That's also not acceptable. You cannot lend money with interest, and it applies both to the one who borrows and the one who lends. And the Torah promises that Hashem will bless the person who observes this law. But to lend to a non-Jew, you are allowed to take interest. Just from your fellow Jew, you're not allowed to.
So when we go and make,
but to the bank is something else. The bank is
when
something
we
else.
do investments,
That's the bank. Bank is something else. But if your neighbor comes to ask you for money, or you lend to somebody else, never take interest. Even if you
want to help.
Even if you gave a bag of sugar and they want to return 2 bags of sugar,
you don't accept.
You don't accept it. Okay, now a person who makes a vow has to keep his vow. And if you
Vow is a neder.
If you made a neder to bring an offering or a donation to the Beis Hamikdash, you have to fulfill it within shalosh regalim. Like you're not allowed to push it off till after 3 festivals like Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. You have to bring it before the 3 festivals finish. If a worker works in a vineyard or whatever, he's allowed to eat as much as he needs. He's not allowed to bring it home, but he can eat at the workplace. Then the Torah teaches us about marriage and divorce, and all the laws about the responsibilities that a person has to take upon his wife after marriage and the first year of marriage. Whether he's allowed to go to war or not. Anyway, I'm not going into all the details of the financial, social and financial conduct. There's like a whole bunch of laws. I want to finish off with the, then there's also the marriage, the chalitza and yibum, like if a man dies without children, so his brother is expected to marry his widow, and if not, then it's
he spits on the shoe.
Yeah, right. And then there's if there's compensation for humiliation. If 2 men are fighting and the wife of one of them intervenes and she is violent and she attacks the other man, she has to pay. She has to compensate him for the humiliation. You're not allowed to cheat with weights or false measures.
Right.
You have to be honest. And then we end off with the destruction of Amalek. So the Torah recalls, again, the sin of Amalek, that they attacked us on the way after we left Egypt. And the Torah tells us, remember what Amalek did. And when the appropriate time comes, you have to eradicate the memory of Amalek. It says, remember what Amalek did to you, how he met you by the way, and he Karcha means kork, cooling. He cooled you off. And the Medrash says that they cooled us off because everybody was afraid of the Jews after Hashem did such tremendous miracles when they left Egypt. And then along comes Amalek and they say, hey, you could attack the Jews, like they cooled. It's like putting a foot in the bathtub. You put the bottom of your foot into the hot water. You can't put your body in. Put your foot in, and then it gets cooled off, and then your whole body can go in. The same as that's what they sort of did, like they cooled the bath. And that's what the Amalek is compared to, a boiling tub of water that nobody can enter. And then somebody comes in and jumps in. He got burned, but he cooled it off for everybody else. Mm-hmm. So when we came out of Egypt, Hashem split the sea and he drowned the Egyptians and all the nations were afraid of us. But then Amalek came and challenged, and he got his punishment, yeah. but he cooled off this awe, this feeling that we're held by all the nations of the world, and um, we were on our way to Mount Sinai to receive the Torah. So the Chassidus, now just want to end off with an interesting, deeper explanation of this. And Chassidut teaches us that this story describes the battle that happens within every person.
Mm.
So the word Mitzrayim means mitzar. It's like a narrow place.
Right.
So on a personal level, it represents the struggle between our mind and our heart. See, we have this narrow,
Yeah.
your mind doesn't always, you know it's not right, and yet it's hard for you to feel it. So, um, uh, so we know it's right, and we don't always follow what we know is right. And like that you should be patient and generous and kind, and not get angry, and don't be selfish and not jealous, or desire immediate pleasure. So leaving your Egypt, your personal Egypt, means that you are learning to let your mind um, guide your actions. It's mind over matter that you are able to overcome. But even after you overcome these struggles, there's another enemy, and that's called Amalek. And Amalek represents the doubt, the apathy. Amalek doesn't necessarily argue that something is wrong, something is false. Instead, he says, "So what? Like, why should I care?" This apathy.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what's true, and you understand what you should do, but Amalek makes him cold. Kor chabad, they make you cold and indifferent. It takes away the excitement, the commitment, the passion that should come from knowing the truth. So how do you fight this Amalek? And the Torah gives you one simple word, and says Zachor, remember.
Uh-huh.
Remember who you really are. Remember your connection to Hashem. Remember the deep faith that's inside your soul. And the Tanya tells us that faith is not something that you have to create. It's part of the DNA of the Jewish soul. Just sometimes it's hidden beneath everyday worries and distractions and material concerns. So that's why throughout the history, when Jews were seemed so distant from Yiddishkeit, from Judaism, they were willing to sacrifice everything. When it came to giving up their faith, they were willing to give up their life. In other words, when your Jewish identity is threatened,
Right.
suddenly the deep faith gets revealed, comes to the surface. So Amalek, you cannot defeat him by logic, because Amalek doesn't listen to logic. The answer is to go deeper and to awaken the faith that's beyond reason. In other words, if we want to summarize it, so Egypt is I know, but I can't. It's like disconnected, right? I know it's right, but my feelings and desires overcome me, and I know I shouldn't get angry, but I get angry anyway. So that's being trapped in your personal Egypt, okay? Then we have the Exodus. Oh, I'm learning to do it. So I let my mind and I let the Torah guide my feelings and actions. So I'm angry, but I know that I should control my reactions, and I keep quiet. Okay, I calm down. That's leaving Egypt. I overcome it. Then comes Amalek, and it says, okay, I know, but I don't care. That's a deeper challenge. So I know it's right, but something inside me says, why bother? Does it really matter? So what? Just a little. Amalek, he cools us down, takes away like I said, the enthusiasm. It makes us indifferent. So what's the answer? The answer is remember that you have a soul. Remember that what you do matters. Remember your connection to Hashem, and remember
Yetziat Mitzrayim.
why you started. And we overcome our Amalek. Every day we fight with our Yetzer Hara. The Amalek is the Yetzer Hara. That's like the snake. So you don't always need a new argument or a new explanation. You just need to reconnect with the faith that and the love that's already inside you, because he says that everyone has ahava mesuteret. There's this love within. It's part of your DNA of every Jewish soul. You just have to reveal it and reconnect.
And to remember why you supposed to eat kosher fish.
fish.
Yeah, snaperim and kaskasim. And when you understand that, you end up to know how to behave yourself. Because
Like I said, to go forward, like what we learned, very good, that the mitzvot,
yeah,
the
because every fish has the ability to move
to
through,
move.
but the kaskasim are telling you
Hagana,
derech eretz.
it shields you.
You don't step over something that should be hurt, and in spite of it, you don't care. So that's Amalek. You know, when you do care about, like you have your goal to achieve into the distance, and